You're listening to the J.D. Rucker Show. Let's begin. Let's begin indeed. I want to start off with a short apology for not giving everybody notice that I was going to be starting late. And I'm giving you notice now, and I'll give you notice throughout the show just in case more people hop on late. But we are having to move the show. I know we've only had it at 6 p.m. Pacific time for a week or so now, maybe 2 weeks, maybe longer. It's been a little bit, but we're having to switch it up. We're having to move the show to 7 p.m. Pacific time in the West Coast, 10 p.m. Eastern time. And the reason being is that it's a struggle. I tell you, it is an absolute struggle because my quote unquote shift at the Liberty Daily starts at 5 p.m. Pacific. And 5 p.m. hits, I have to acclimate myself, which means reading through all of the headlines that we already have up there. That way we're not duplicating anything. Make sure that I know where we stand. And, in an ideal world, I'm doing that ahead of time. I'm doing that on the fly. But lately, things have not been ideal. Just took one little itty bitty thing. Just one challenge earlier today to throw the rest of my day off. So instead of just planning for every single day to be absolutely perfect and we're going to be able to get it at 6 p.m. every day, no hitches, it's just easier to set the precedent and to move forward with a 7 p.m. show. I hate doing it because I know that especially if you're on the East Coast, then this is a late show and I don't want to be so late. But you know what? I mean, we are, let's face it, we are a conspiracy theory based show. And as such, it sort of makes sense for us to be maybe later in the evening than other shows. That's fine. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But going forward, at least for now, this show is moving to 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Gosh, it's hard to even say that. 10 p.m. Eastern. Tune in instead of, I don't even know what plays at 10 p.m. I haven't watched television in so many years. Is that when Letterman comes on, right? Or is that Johnny Carson? I don't know who comes on. The 10 o'clock news. That's right. We're going to come on opposite the 10 o'clock local news, which again, I haven't watched in a while. I used to watch the 10 o'clock news a lot back decades ago when I lived in Oklahoma, but only because of the weather. Out here in sunny California, where I can guarantee you that tomorrow the high will be somewhere between 68 and 72. And the low tonight will be somewhere between 45 and 50. And that's pretty much how it's going to be the rest of my life as long as I live here, which hopefully, Lord willing, won't be very much longer. We are trying our best to make this shift, at least out of this area, if not out of California altogether. For those who aren't aware, not to get too personal, but we are here, quote unquote, stuck in California, and we have been for nearly 2 decades because of a particular medical situation within the family that requires us to be close to a very particular set of doctors that you can't just go, oh, well, let's just move to Montana and we'll have the same quality of doctors there. No, we need very, very good doctors, and for better or for worse, California has the ones that we need. So we had a choice of like California, possibly I think Pennsylvania, and maybe Houston, and then like Australia. And I'm definitely not moving to Australia or Houston. So nothing wrong with Texas, by the way. I love Texas. But no, we're not moving to Houston, Texas. Pennsylvania was a consideration, I believe, but we'll see. I like it out here. I like the West Coast. We have Anaheim peppers out here. And Anaheim peppers, for those who don't know, are the best peppers for fajitas. If you've never had Anaheim peppers on your fajitas. Now, there is a challenge with Anaheim peppers because sometimes they're not hot enough. You can get sweeter Anaheim peppers. They're basically hatched chili peppers that were taken from New Mexico. The seeds were taken from New Mexico, taken out to Anaheim, California, planted there, and then turned into basically a new pepper. And as a result, they can sometimes be hotter than like a poblano, and sometimes they're not. Sometimes they come out sweet, so you have to be careful. I like the hot ones myself. All right, so that's the prelude. That's the chit chat that I've been asked to do in the beginning of the show, so that it gives people time to join. Now, hopefully, you've all joined, and let's get into this breaking news. Breaking earlier today, big news. According to well, if I can get it up on the screen, you know, we're doing our best. And this is, before I pull the story up, I was thinking about it earlier today. It might not be a bad idea to make a brief, occasional shout out or call for sponsors. We aren't ever going to accept corporate direction. We have been asked multiple times to be on multiple different networks out there, and I've got no ego when it comes to that. Like Frank Speech, we're on Frank Speech during the day. I love Frank Speech because they let me say whatever I want. If I want to talk about the jabs, they let me talk about the jabs. If I want to talk about voter fraud, they let me talk about voter fraud. If I want to be positive about Trump, negative about Trump, indifferent about Trump, they'll let me go. The one thing they don't ever want me to do, and I can understand that, is to tout like Marxism, socialism, Democrats, or anything like that. Not that I ever would, but just saying that they did draw the line there, and I can appreciate that. Other networks tend to be more, when they start off by saying, our network believes in, no, I'm done. It's not, I don't care what a network believes in. Okay, a network shouldn't believe in anything. That's the whole idea of a network. You can be aligned. You can be, like, I guess, a conservative network, a left-leaning network, whatever. But don't tell me that, well, at our network, we are fully vaxxed, and it's like, okay, out. I'm not playing those games. But with that said, as an independent show, we could definitely use some sponsors, and I appreciate anyone's help in that regard. We're very super stupid picky with our sponsors. We only work with America First companies. Period. We don't work with anyone. Oh, son of a gun. Hold on one second. I've got for those who aren't aware, I do run the Liberty Daily in the evenings, which is one of the reasons why we do have such a challenge. Okay, yeah. So when I get these messages from the Liberty Daily, haha, your message just appeared on my show. Funny stuff. When I'm running the Liberty Daily in the evenings, that's when I will get messages from across the board. Sources, in this case, it was from Matthew, the owner, who is alerting me. Breaking news. Trump sends memo stating no later than 5 p.m. on Wednesday, January 22nd, that's tomorrow, heads of departments of agencies must, number one, send notifications. Hold on. I gotta cut him off. He's going to keep sending stuff. Let me quit Telegram. Okay. Send a notification to all employees of DEIA offices that they are being placed on paid administrative leave effective immediately as the agency takes steps to close and end all DEIA initiatives, offices, and programs. They will also be taking down all outward-facing media, websites, social media accounts, etc., of DEIA offices. Wow. I mean, he's moving fast. We have to admit. I don't know if you love his policies, hate his policies. I am sure if you're watching this show, chances are you love his policies. But yeah, they're coming out very fast, much faster, much more streamlined than they were during his first administration. So, good stuff there. All right. But anyway, other breaking news today, we did have President Trump announced Project STARGATE, which is a $500 billion AI infrastructure investment with OpenAI, Oracle, and SoftBank. It's something that I mean, let's call it what it is. It's terrifying. And I know all the Trump supporters out there are probably going to be like, oh, he's already speaking out against Trump. Well, I'm not speaking out against Trump. I absolutely adore President Trump. I fully support 95, 96% of his agenda. This one I don't support. Okay? I know that I'll go ahead and start with the arguments why we should support it. They're going to say, they being conservatives out there, they're going to say, well, if we don't get into AI, somebody else is going to. Or if, China's already going, we need to catch up with them. They're going to use scare tactics to tell you that we need to engage in this AI infrastructure. Or the best one is, if the federal government doesn't get involved, then you're going to have the private sector, other companies. They're going to do their own thing, and then they're going to have more control, more whatever. And to that, I'm like, okay, great. Not that I trust Sam Altman or any of them, but with that said, I do have a certain distrust. Not that I don't trust the Trump administration, but when you start giving government control over, in this case, $500 billion AI infrastructure, you run the risk of nefarious forces taking advantage of it, such as the deep state, which they would have taken advantage of it whether it was private or public anyway, but such as a future Democrat regime. Could you imagine if, say, Michelle Obama has the power of a fully developed, after 4 years, a fully developed AGI infrastructure that is powering many, if not most, if not all, of government's activities? This is concerning already, not just because of, it's AI bad. I'm not going down that hole, but there is a reason. There are several reasons why I am concerned, and I'll get to those here in a second. But before we get to the article, let's just start with his announcement.
Together, these world-leading technology giants are announcing the formation of STARGATE. So put that name down in your books, because I think you're going to hear a lot about it in the future. A new American company that will invest $500 billion at least in AI infrastructure in the United States, and very, very quickly, moving very rapidly, creating over 100,000 American jobs almost immediately. This monumental undertaking is a resounding declaration of confidence in America's potential under a new president. Let me be a new president. I didn't say it, they did. So I appreciate it.
I mean, is that it? Is that how they got to him? Do they just say, hey, it's only because of you, Mr. President? Yeah, like I said, I love Donald Trump, but my gosh, sometimes he is far too easy, in my humble opinion, far too easy to, what's the word for it? To pressure, I guess. It's the easiest way to put it. Far too easy to pressure. I'm going to cut to the chase here and cut to the scariest one. We're going to get to SoftBank CEO Masayoshi Son and Sam Altman from OpenAI, but I want to start with Larry Ellison, who, just right off the bat, just throws it right out there. Here's something to be concerned about.
So this is about reforming the system of hiring in the federal government.
You look even better.
Thank you, Mr. President. One of the most exciting things we're working on, using the tools that Sam and Masa are providing, is a cancer vaccine. It's very interesting. It turns out, I'll be quick, all of our cancers, cancer tumors, little fragments of those tumors float around in your blood. So you can do early cancer detection. If you can do using AI, you can do early cancer detection with a blood test. And using AI to look at the blood test, you can find the cancers that are actually seriously threatening the person. So we can, again, cancer diagnosis using AI has the promise of just being a simple blood test. Then beyond that, once we gene sequence that cancer tumor, you can then vaccinate the person, design a vaccine for every individual person to vaccinate them against that cancer. And you can make that vaccine, that mRNA vaccine, you can make that robotically, again using AI, in about 48 hours. So imagine early cancer detection the development of a cancer vaccine for your particular cancer aimed at you, and have that vaccine available in 48 hours. This is the promise of AI and the promise of the future.
See, here I was all concerned about artificial intelligence, about mixing in mRNA technology, letting AI say, "Hey, you're sick. We found cancer in your bloodstream. Thankfully, it's not in progress yet, and so we're going to go ahead and craft a personalized mRNA injection for you. No worries. Just give us 48 hours. We'll get it done." Except I kept getting distracted by that gym. Did you guys see that all-in-one gym on the screen? See, that's the kind of sponsor I need. If that's an America First company, that's the kind of sponsor I need right there. Yeah, see how I worked that back in? I kind of got distracted earlier with breaking news. I had to work back in the need that we have for sponsors for this show. And they can always reach out to me by going to jdrucker.com/talk. That'll go directly to me. And so can you. Even if you're not a sponsor, you just want to talk to me, you want to give me feedback, jdrucker.com/talk. So let's get back to this article, though. According to the Post-Millennial, Trump announces Project Stargate, a $500 billion AI infrastructure investment with OpenAI, bad guys, Oracle, bad guys, SoftBank, potentially very bad guys, though not so much yet. We'll see. I need to learn more about them. This is from Hannah Nightingale over there at the Post-Millennial. Speaking from the White House on Tuesday, President Trump announced the formation of the Stargate project, a joint company between Oracle, SoftBank, and OpenAI. The project was touted by Trump as being the largest AI infrastructure project by far in history, and it's not even close, okay? To put in perspective, we're talking about $500 billion, okay? $500 billion. Let me say that one more time in case you missed it. $500 billion, $500 billion. SoftBank has already put in $100 billion right off the bat, and they said $500 billion, it's coming. To put that into perspective, OpenAI, they are on the verge of having artificial general intelligence, AGI. And they're super excited about that. And they were able to do it with, I think, like $3 billion in revenues and then like a $6 billion investment. So we're talking about a lot more, okay? We're talking about like 50, 60 times more money than what OpenAI has already been able to use to develop what we believe to be game changer, earth-shattering technology, and now we're going to take that investment, add in Oracle, get Larry Ellison involved, start making mRNA jabs, more of them. Yeah, it's a nightmare. We already played Trump's announcement. Trump said that the project would invest $500 billion in the U.S. at least and would create over 100,000 American jobs. Now, let me preface this before I get too deep into the story. A lot of this is going to sound great. You might be thinking to yourself already, wow, so you're telling me they can possibly cure cancer, but at the very least stop cancer before it starts? Okay, I have a cancer survivor in my family. I also have two parents that died from cancer. So I get it. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, that's not appealing. A lot of this stuff is going to be appealing, folks. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Artificial intelligence in a bubble, in a controlled bubble, AGI, especially if it's powered by enough supercomputer capacity such as quantum computers, it does have the potential to do tremendous good. My concern, as I've voiced many, many times, I've got a dozen concerns about AGI. But my biggest concern is that it will work. It will work fantastically. And it will fundamentally change the human race to the point to where we become very easily controlled eaters, useless eaters. I mean, everything. I don't care. You go to school for 7 years and become an attorney, you can be replaced. AGI will be better than you at the law. Say you want to become a doctor. You spend 8 years in school. You go through your trials, your clinicals. You go through everything you need to do. You become a doctor. AGI with delicate robotics, which are coming very, very soon, they will be able to replace you. Now, those things they're not going to be positioned as bad, and on the surface, they're not. We're not just talking about replacing jobs, okay? We're talking about replacing the need for humanity itself. And at some point in the future, as this progresses, this is almost, by the way, we're basically at the point of no return, barring nuclear war or something bad happening. This is the next bad thing, because it will get to the point to where the only option will be universal basic income. The only true option will be modern monetary theory. And it will get to the point to where all of the globalists' dreams of absolute control over the people, over the money, over the energy, over the food, and especially over the technology, those dreams will be realized. Now here's the dilemma that we're faced with. It's like, what can we do about it? Especially when we have President Trump out there promoting it. Can we stop it? The answer is no. The answer is no, which is why I go back to this every time. I always tell people, are you going to be able to avoid artificial intelligence? No, you're not. Are you going to be able to stop artificial intelligence? No, we're not. The only thing that we can and should do, in my exceedingly humble opinion, is to prepare for that inevitability by becoming the things that we should have been becoming for a long time. And maybe many of you already have. I've tried to some extent. I'm not there yet. But I want to be as self-sufficient as possible. I want to make sure that I can keep myself and my family as detached from government. It's not necessarily just the AI. And to be very clear, it's not even necessarily just quote-unquote government. It will also be the public-private partnerships that everybody in government nowadays seems to like, including President Trump. It will be companies like Oracle or OpenAI or Meta or Alphabet/Google or whoever having more and more and more and more control. Bill Gates buying up farmland, the Chinese Communist Party buying up farmland, everybody other than farmers buying up farmland. Control of the food, control of the energy. Now you got control of the people. And that is a future that is becoming exceedingly harder to avoid. So rather than trying to avoid it, rather than trying to stop it, and to be clear, I don't want to, give up. It's inevitable. No, we're still going to fight it. We're still going to try to fight it in any way we possibly can. We'll fight it tooth and nail with the understanding that it seems increasingly likely that we won't be able to stop it. We won't even be able to slow it down. It's a freight train, and we're trying to build a roadblock out of plywood. It's not going to work. Artificial general intelligence is coming. And at some point, it will be powered by quantum computers. And when I say at some point, if it takes a decade, I would be shocked. I don't think it's going to take a decade. I think all of this aligns very, very well and very perfectly, unfortunately, with happening just before a very particular year, that year being 2030. I mean, the estimates are actually literally putting quantum computing as being mainstreamed by 2029. They were pushing it all the way out to 2040 before. Well, they used to say, sometime this century. Then it's like, well, by 2050. Then it was 2040. Now, all of a sudden, the latest estimates that I've heard, following the development of Willow, the advancement, I guess you could say the announcement of Willow's achievements for Google, the Willow chips achievements, back in December of 2024, just last month. Following that, all of a sudden, they're saying 2029 is the year that quantum computers will be able to be fully realized, to the point that they will be able to break any encryption. They will be able to do a whole lot of stuff that today's supercomputers cannot do. And you tie in artificial intelligence, especially artificial general intelligence, and all of a sudden, yes, we do become essentially useless eaters, because it will be able to do some amazing things. It will be able to probably cure cancer. Okay? It's going to be able to do some amazing things. That's why, trying to stop it, it's like trying to stop, there is no precedent. There's no precedent. The closest we can possibly say, based upon, in our lifetimes, it'd be like trying to stop the internet during its early days of formation. It was going to happen. And it was being touted as being supremely good. And we could probably argue, hey, it has been supremely good. Except, has it really? Are we closer? Are we able to do a lot more things? You betcha. Do we have a lot more information? You betcha. Is the world a better place as a result? Look around. You tell me, what about mobile devices? Mobile devices were supposed to make it to where, we have fewer secrets, but that doesn't seem to be the case. It was supposed to make it to where we were able to be better connected with our fellow humans. But the unintended consequences of all these things, those are the things that you wouldn't have expected. If I had told you 10 years ago that these mobile phones with these incredible cameras in the future, that you would be able to see, for example, there could be a crime. Somebody could be getting attacked, and American men who could jump in and stop it instead pull out their phones and start recording it. Daniel Penny was an aberration. He was not the norm amongst today's male population, especially young male population. Now, older people, look, I am fully confident that people my generation, they see somebody getting attacked, they're capable of stopping them, they will stop them. I've never pulled out my phone to record anything in my life. Like, not, I've gotten in trouble for it. It's like, oh my gosh, you get that on camera? No. I'm an idiot. Sorry. I saw this celebrity. Oh, let me see the video. It's like, what video? Well, don't you have a phone? That's me. But you look at today's younger generation of males, Daniel Penny is the rare one. Most men will pull out their phone and record the bad thing happening instead of stopping the bad thing from happening. That's an unintended consequence that I don't think many people saw. Oh, well, I'm doing my part. I've got information for the police. No, if you see a crime, you stop the crime if you have the capabilities. If you're not going to, if there's imminent danger and you don't have time to call the police, you don't have time, if somebody is getting attacked and you're capable of stopping it, and you say the same thing for females, especially if you're armed, but for the most part, I'm talking about men being men, the way that men have always been for the entirety of human history up until the last 5 or 6 years. But I digress. I'm not going to rant. I'm sorry. Apologies for that rant. Let's get into an even scarier scenario, a word that, admittedly, for all the artificial intelligence research that I've done, which has been a lot, I'd never heard the term ASI. So we know AI is artificial intelligence, right? AGI is artificial general intelligence, which is, that's basically, instead of just having a chatbot or a very specialized, Roomba AI, you have an actual artificial general intelligence that can assess situations, assess scenarios based on input that it's given or input that it collects itself, and then generate new ideas from it. This is where it gets into true problem solving. Not just solving a problem that is given, but determining new problems that it wasn't given and coming up with solutions to that. AGI is what I had thought was basically the not the epitome, the pinnacle. The pinnacle of AI development. But then I heard SoftBank CEO Masayoshi Son at today's press conference say something that, or introduce a term that I had not heard until today.
Mr. President, last month I came to celebrate your winning and promised that we will invest $100 billion. And you told me, oh, Masa, go for 200. Yeah. Now I came back with 500. Because this is the, as you said yesterday, this is the beginning of golden age of America. This is one great example, I think, right? We wouldn't have decided to do this.
I think so.
This is the beginning of golden age. We wouldn't have decided unless you won. And yesterday we agreed, we signed to make this happen.
It's great.
Because of this day.
Very nice.
So we would make this happen. We would immediately start deploying $100 billion with a goal of making $500 billion within next 4 years, within your term.
Yeah.
Right? Because of your success. So we are very, very excited to do this. And our partner is, of course, SoftBank, OpenAI, Oracle, and additionally investing partner with MGX. On top of that, we have the technology partner NVIDIA, and of course, Microsoft has been very, very supportive to Sam and continue to support all our success. This is not just for business. As Larry said, this will help people's life. This will help solving many, many issues, difficult things that otherwise we could not have solved with the power of AI. I think AGI is coming very, very soon. And then after that, that's not the goal. After that, artificial super intelligence will come to solve the issues that mankind would never ever have thought that we could solve. Well, this is the beginning of our golden age. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Fantastic.
Mr.
Artificial superintelligence, huh? Nothing concerning about that. You know, as a Bible-believing Christian, I have been diving more into my Bible to try to see, is there anything here? Is there anything that warns us of this? And there is. And I'm not going to talk about it today because we have a lot. I mean, look, everything that I want to say about AI is, it would take multiple shows to get into it. We have considered, by the way, and especially if we are able to get that aforementioned sponsor, we have considered even doing a documentary on it. I've talked to some people who believe they could put it together at a relatively reasonable rate, people that are very talented, who would essentially be donating their time because they too believe in the risks. But like I said before, here's the biggest challenge, is that it is going to work and we are going to see huge benefits from it. Even in the story itself, it starts off right off the bat and says, Trump said that the project would invest $500 billion in the U.S. at least and would create over 100,000 American jobs. Who doesn't want one of those jobs right now? You know, they used to say that the joke, it started off as reality, but it turned into a joke, you know, learn to code. Well, now it's learn to develop AI agents. I watched a video, a very compelling video, to be clear. I mean, this guy's good. I'm not going to show it to you, but because I don't have, it's copyright. But there was it's like a 7-minute video about how this guy was basically talking about AI agents and how being an AI generalist is going to make you super useful in the future. And the thing is that he's right. He is correct about all this stuff. There's a lot of the unintended consequences. I'm going to keep repeating that because that is my concern. The unintended consequences of all these things are going to be disguised by the positives. There are positives. Okay? Is AI inherently evil? No, not yet. It might become inherently evil. But as of now, AI as a technology is not inherently evil. It is the people behind AI that generally can make it evil. When we start seeing I think everybody remembers last year when Google's AI, you know, you ask it to present people and it would only present people of color, you know. Show me the founding fathers, and it was a bunch of dudes of color, okay, black and Hispanic. I think there might have been an Asian guy in there, but they looked like it was like a black version of George Washington. That's what Google's AI thought would properly represent the founding fathers, and you know, and that wasn't the AI's fault per se. It was the people behind it. But here's the thing, is that as AI advances, as we do achieve artificial general intelligence and now apparently artificial superintelligence, then this is when AI can become very, very bad, not just as a tool, but in and of itself. And again, I keep repeating, I sound like I'm repeating myself, but I have to hammer these points home. It will all be done under the guise of the tremendous positives that are associated with it. I've used AI, for example, to generate not just transcripts, but to write entire articles about videos. You know, take a video, 5-10 minute video, for example, and plug it into the AI, and it will spit out information. It'll spit out an article, and it's not like the AI generated articles of a year or 2 or 3 or 4 years ago, where it's like, okay, yeah, this was definitely AI. It's advanced. It's to the point to where it gets nothing wrong factually. That used to be a problem. They would, I mean, AI would literally make up facts for whatever reason. Now, at least the AI that I've been using doesn't do that. It doesn't make up facts. It pulls from outside sources, not just the source material itself, not just the video that I plug in, but it'll pull from outside sources to support the cases within the video. I mean, in other words, like if I were to assign a professional journalist to watch a video and to write an article about it, and then had this AI do the same thing, they would be indistinguishable. Not that they would be the same article, obviously, but you would have a hard time picking out, accurately determining which one was human and which one was AI generated. Maybe you could do 1 or 2 or maybe 3 or 4. But if I gave you 10 articles written like that, you would not be able to get 10 out of 10 right. I'd be shocked if you got 6 or 7 out of 10 right. And that's with a 50-50 chance. So, I mean, with a 50-50 chance, and I'm being generous. It's possible that you could only get 50% of them right, which would mean that it is at a level ground with the human journalist. And now journalism was supposed to be one of those things that were, quote unquote, protected. And they said, well, there might come a time in the future where you could have AI journalists. Well, guess what? Today you can have AI journalists. And you probably already do. That's the sad part, especially considering how legacy media is dying. I'd be shocked if there aren't at least 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 major legacy media sites out there that are utilizing AI to generate the content that they need, because paying a human is just a lot more expensive. Notice that people are getting laid off, right? A lot of people are getting laid off, and yet you see some of these places that allegedly lay off 40% of their writers, and yet they're still producing, they're busting out with the same amount of content on a daily basis. I know, because again, as editor of the Liberty Daily, I have to read through all these dang headlines every single day. So it's here behind the scenes. Eventually it's going to be here, not behind the scenes. Let's go back to these. I keep hovering over this article. I want to get through the article itself, because this is important stuff, and I do have other articles. So according to Trump, it'll ensure the future of technology. What we want to do is we want to keep it in this country. And I agree there. Hey, that is the argument. I made the argument earlier. They're going to continue to make the argument. Maybe some of you will make the argument that if we don't do it, China's going to beat us to it. Russia's going to beat us to it. Iran's going to beat us to it. Argentina's going to beat us to it. Canada's going to beat us to it. Or non-government organizations, or even corporations in or outside of America, including corporations in China, which should terrify us all. Okay? So you got all these various reasons that say, hey, we should be doing this instead. And I mean, you might be thinking, oh, so you support President Trump's action. I'm scared that it was the only possible solution, and it's not a solution at all. I'm concerned that, we might be ushering in more rapidly, ushering in an inevitability as a result of these actions. Now, here's the thing. Here's why, in many ways, indifference is the wrong word. I am ambivalent. Nah, that's not even the right word either. What's going to happen is going to happen. And if I'm right, that artificial intelligence, especially AGI or now ASI, if this is going to play a major role in the end times, and if we are indeed in the end times right now, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where it's coming from. It's going to do what it's going to do. So then it just bounces right back to us to answer the question, are we going to be ready? Are we going to be as independent as possible? Now, here's the beautiful part about my suggestions. Let's say AI is a bust. Let's say I'm totally wrong. Did you lose anything by becoming more self-sufficient? By becoming less beholden to government? By becoming more independent? More self-governed yourself? More in control of the lives of your family? No. So, in a way, I can't lose, not with my advice. I mean, I'm not giving you bad advice by saying become better at taking care of yourself without assistance. I think that that's a good thing, AI or not. What AI does, for me at least, is to accelerate that need, to accelerate the timetable, to make it to where we we need to start planting more trees, more plants. We need to find a place where we can get chickens. We need to get we need to get ready. We need to stock up on anything we need to stock up on. We need to learn skills. We need to remove ourselves as much as possible from the day-to-day life of America. By day-to-day life of America, I'm not talking about, become a hermit, okay? Go out there and become a recluse. I'm saying to be ready for. If something crazy happens tomorrow, do you have a plan? If something crazy starts to happen slowly and you start seeing it developing, and perhaps other people start seeing it developing and they start getting prepared, are you ahead of the game? That's all I'm suggesting that you do, is to become more independent, become more self-reliant. And, it's that old adage in that second scenario with the slow churning of apocalyptic events. If that's the scenario that we are going to be faced with, it's the whole, a group of people facing a bear, right? You don't have to be faster than the bear. You just have to be faster than at least one of the other people, because the bear's going to get the slowest one. Don't be the slowest one. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm telling you to do. Let other people be slower. You might say, oh, that sounds brutal. It is. So be it. Back to the article. This is what Trump said. Immediately, Stargate will be building a physical and virtual infrastructure to power the next generation of advancements in AI. And this will include the construction of colossal data centers. Now, what do data centers need? They need land, which we've got plenty of. Praise God for that in the United States of America. As a matter of fact, most of it's being mismanaged. But we do have the land available. Okay, great. You need structures. You need to be able to build the data centers. You got to be able to build the buildings. We can take care of all that. Great. And $500 billion invested into it. I think we should be able to put together a nice and beautiful building. It'll be like Trump, instead of Trump Towers, it'll be Trump Data Center. Awesome. You need massive amounts of energy. There's a reason why all these companies are talking about building their own nuclear plants. That's the degree of energy that you need to be able to properly power artificial intelligence. I was very shocked when I got involved in an AI program last year, where they were basically trying to recreate my voice, they took everything I'd ever written for decades and watched the evolution, and they spit out the AI version of me as a writer. Now, as it turns out, it was okay. It had challenges though. Couldn't get certain basic things right, which at the time it made me feel, okay, great. AI is still a few years away until I started seeing other developments. It was just this particular company that was behind on AI. Others have been able to do a far better job at mastering it, including Sam Altman, who we're about to hear, and ChatGPT, OpenAI. And he's been saying that AGI will happen this year. 2025, he is 100% confident that OpenAI, that ChatGPT, will have artificial general intelligence qualities to it. In other words, you'll be able to not just say, hey, it'll be more than an advanced search engine, which basically it's like a search engine with a little bit of fake personality involved, right? Well, no, that's not what it's going to be in the future. In that future being this year, it will be able to do some pretty sick things. Sick as in both positive and negative. Oh man, that's sick. Or, oh dude, that is sick. Both are going to be possible with it. But anyway, so you need the energy. You need to back to the reason, the shocking part. So I'm talking to this company. I'm like, okay, well, let's say we wanted to take it to the next level, right? They're like, yeah, sure, that'd be $5,000 a month. I'm like, for what? It's like, for basically just the processing power and the energy. That's it. It's not paying anybody. There's not going to labor or anything like that. $5,000 a month to be able to power the artificial intelligence that would truly take your personal bot, your personal script writer, whatever you want to call it. It could write articles, it could write shows, it could write anything, and that'll be $5,000 a month, and that's to break for them to break even, which is why I didn't do it. I probably would have. I mean, if it was like $50 a month, I probably would have done it. But no, it takes apparently a ton of energy. I need a nuclear generator to make the Rucker bot. They basically insinuated, not literally, but you get the idea. Last thing you'll need is the power, not just energy, but you'll also need to be able to cool these data centers. And we're not talking about cooling them, let's put in an AC unit. We're talking about taking tremendous amounts of heat and diffusing it in a way. And we're not even discussing if you have a nuclear power plant, you need that already. So now you got a nuclear power plant attached to basically super freezers, and combine that with the actual hardware and the actual infrastructure of the buildings. And then you need, of course, the people to run it all. But if you've got $500 billion to invest, you can accomplish that. So when he says they're going to begin construction on colossal data centers, I believe him. Back to the article. In a press release from OpenAI and SoftBank, the company said that they are the lead partners for Stargate, with SoftBank having financial responsibility and OpenAI having operational responsibility. Sun will be the chairman of the company. Initial equity funders are SoftBank, OpenAI, Oracle, and MGX. Key initial technology partners include Microsoft, NVIDIA, ARM, and OpenAI. And this is a statement from, who's this? Doesn't say. I guess this might be from the press release. This infrastructure will secure American leadership in AI, create hundreds of thousands of American jobs, and generate massive economic benefit for the entire world. This project will not only support the reindustrialization of the United States, but also provide a strategic capability to protect the national security of America and its allies, the press release stated. The company intends to invest $500 billion over the next 4 years, with $100 billion being immediately deployed. Boom. Wow. Trump was joined in the White House by Oracle Executive Chairman Larry Ellison, who we heard from, talking about, hey, here's your personal AI-generated mRNA jab to stop your cancer in its tracks. Available in 48 hours. Crazy stuff. Oracle Chief Executive Chairman Larry Ellison, SoftBank CEO Masayoshi Son, and OpenAI CEO Sam Altman for the announcement. Let's go ahead, and we already played Masayoshi Son. Let's play Sam Altman. Again, this is the CEO, founder of OpenAI, which drives ChatGPT.
I don't have too much to add, but I did want to say I'm thrilled we get to do this in the United States of America. I think this will be the most important project of this era. And as Masa said, for AGI to get built here, to create hundreds of thousands of jobs, to create a new industry centered here, we wouldn't be able to do this without you, Mr. President. And I'm thrilled that we get to. I think it'll be an exciting project. I think we'll be able to do all of the wonderful things that these guys talked about. But the fact that we get to do this in the United States is, I think, wonderful. So thank you very much.
Could you just say one word? I hear so many positive things about what it's going to do for medical research and for solving things, cancer and all the different problems. How will AI help us with the fight against the various problems, diseases, etc.?
These guys can maybe share more about some of the work they're doing there. I think they'll jointly be some of the leaders about driving progress here. But I believe that as this technology progresses, we will see diseases get cured at an unprecedented rate. We will be amazed at how quickly we're curing this cancer and that one and heart disease, and what this will do for the ability to deliver very high quality healthcare, the costs, but really to cure the diseases at a rapid rate, I think will be among the most important things this technology does.
That guy really concerns me. He's wicked smart. Let's be clear about that. I mean, he is a mind very similar to Elon Musk. He's a mind very similar to Steve Jobs. These aren't people that are getting in there and coming up with the tremendous coding expertise. They have that, but not they have specialists for that. No, these are men of vision. Men that can say, why not? Okay? They can ask that question, and that's what makes, especially when you're talking about tech giants, that's what separates the ones that succeed from the ones that fail. And for all of the shortcomings that I believe Sam Altman has, he has the characteristics of somebody who will succeed. So when he says that he's certain that artificial general intelligence will be a reality at OpenAI this year, I believe him. We should all believe him, especially if he's combining forces. I mean, what he's been able to do with $8-9 billion has been absolutely astounding. And the idea that now he's going to be helping to lead a company that will have $500 billion behind it, with the stated goal of establishing the United States as the premier leader in artificial intelligence, we should be super ecstatic and terrified at the same time. Like I said, I'm not trying to be indifferent about this, because this does concern me. I wish it wasn't the case, but I'm being pragmatic and understanding that you got President Trump behind it, you've got $500 billion behind it, you've got the vast majority of Americans, the people around us, are going to hear what AI can do for them, and they're going to say, yes, please. Okay? I mean, if they were willing to listen to Fauci and stick 8 needles in their arms, what are they going to do when, oh, no, this is, according to this, we just did a blood test, and it says that you've got this certain type of cancer, and we're going to craft an mRNA jab for you that's going to stop the cancer in its tracks. And it's going to be specifically for you, and we'll have it ready for you in 2 days. What American's going to say no? What anybody is going to say no to that? Now, I would. I'm the weird one, I guess. Maybe not. Lord willing, I'm not. Lord willing, there will be enough people out there that say, you know what? I'll take my chances. I would rather go through prayer and healthy eating, sunlight, good quality, natural fixes before you start sticking weird and burgeoning and potentially dangerous technology in me. I'm not here to give you medical advice by any means. Okay? Please don't misconstrue what I'm saying as, oh, he's saying don't take this. Look, everybody has to make a decision on their own. And if you are faced in that situation that, like Larry Ellison had proposed, you get a blood test that says that you have a cancer emerging, that it can be stopped immediately. It'll take you 2 days. Your insurance will cover it. Sign here. I mean, what? 98, 99% of the population will sign on. So I am concerned. But I'm not going to sit here and try to figure out a way to stop it, because I don't think there is a way. Not by ourselves. The best thing we can do is pray. Or not try to stop it and focus on taking care of ourselves and our families. I know nobody wants to hear that, because it sounds like, oh my gosh, he's talking about the end of America. No, I think we'll persist. This is not about this particular thing. There's a lot of things that are out there that with the intention of destroying the United States of America. We already have those threats. This, I don't think, is one of them. This is about controlling the people of the United States of America and beyond. I think that this is about controlling the world. I really believe that. Does this fall under the beast system potentially in the end days? You betcha. I've been hearing people saying how this technology, this is the beast system. Those RFID chips, that's the beast. Hey, Y2K, that's the beast. Oh, barcodes? They're going to put barcodes on your forehead, and that's the beast system right there. Central bank digital currencies, that's the beast. I mean, everything is, oh, this is it. This is the one. I've been listening to people talk about that stuff for decades. And I've looked into it, and it's like, okay, yeah, I guess it's possible. Okay, yeah, that one might be possible. When I look at this, I don't see it as possible. I see it as likely. Now, here's the funny part. Do I blame Trump? No, I don't. Do I blame Sam Altman? No, I don't. look at these people. Larry Ellison, Sam Altman. I don't know much about Sun, but Donald Trump, and I look at them and I see them reacting based on the information they have. I see them reacting the same way that 99%, maybe 95%, we'll say, 95% of the U.S. population would react the same way in their position. We have an opportunity to push a technology that can do amazing things for the human race. There are outside forces, other countries that are trying to do the same thing, but if we do it, that we're going to do it better and we're going to actually help people and they're going to use it to kill people. Okay? These people, they think this. And they might not be wrong, by the way, about that. And number 3, if we don't do it, somebody else is going to do it, not just necessarily another country. Somebody else is going to do it, and then we will fall behind. Maybe we will collapse as a country. I don't blame any of these people for falling for this. It's funny because I remember thinking, this is, gosh, maybe 30 years ago. I remember wondering, like, how could anything that's foretold in the book of Revelation, in certain parts of the book of Daniel, and definitely in Ezekiel, how could any of this, how could they not see it coming, right? I mean, come on. It'll be so obvious. And then you see stuff like this, and it's like, oh, yeah, okay. I can see why the masses are going to embrace this. And that concerns me. But I'm not going to dwell on it. Well, I made it through the first hour without taking a break. My limited sponsors will be very upset. But let's go ahead and take a brief break. And then, oh goodness, I don't have it ready, do I? I am going to have, hold on. So stay right there for just a brief second. Okay, you're going to see something on your screen. It's going to be, don't pay attention to it. So give me one quick second because I totally forgot to get this ready. One quick second. If you can still hear me, by the way, what I did was I totally forgot to set up the today's show, which is technically this morning's show. I forgot to set up the replay. So that's my bad. Almost got it. And once we get it, then we'll be in much better shape. All right, now I think I've got it. Okay, so with that said, we got that set up. I'm going to do the replay of this morning's show, the Frank Speech show. And then when that's done, I'll come back. We'll talk a little bit more about AI, and then we'll talk about some other also technology-related crazy things that are happening in the world. It's not all just about Operation Stargate. We got other things to concern ourselves with. So stay tuned.
In a world of uncertainty, be prepared with Silver Prepper Bars, your ultimate hedge against political instability and economic turmoil. Introducing the Silver Prepper Bar, crafted from 0.999 pure silver and proudly made in the USA. This tangible, divisible asset can come in handy even in the toughest of times. Portable, perforated, and easily tradable, the Silver Prepper Bar is your lifeline in times of crisis. When facing inflation, currency devaluation, and financial meltdown, Silver Prepper Bars provide peace of mind. Don't wait for disaster to strike. Secure your future today with the exclusive Silver Prepper Bar, the only silver bar on the market divisible into 3 different size pieces for maximum utility, all while fitting in your wallet. The smart choice for savvy investors and preppers alike. With Silver Prepper Bars, you're ready for whatever tomorrow brings. Hi folks, I'm here today to introduce you to the Prepper Bar from PrepperBar.com, the most unique precious metals product we have seen in a long time. These 62-gram bars are perforated and easily broken down into your choice of 3 different sizes to fit a multitude of needs. Whether it be from asset protection from inflation, economic turmoil, or its unique utility for barter and trade, the Prepper Bar makes a perfect gift for all the precious metal lovers out there. Exclusively made here in the USA and selling out fast. Available in both gold and silver, these slim Prepper Bars fit neatly in your wallet, and their utility enables you use in any situation. As gold and silver prices continue to surge and top economists predict upcoming shortages, now is the time to secure your precious metals in the form of prepper bars. Go to prepperbar.com now and place your order before supply runs out and prices go up. All payment methods accepted. Order your silver prepper bars now at prepperbar.com. Silver prepper bars, ready for whatever tomorrow brings. Order now.
You're listening to the J.D. Rucker Show. Let's begin. It is happening. It's already here. We are now officially in the first full day of the second Trump administration, and praise God for that. We've got a big show today. Lots of things happening. J6 political prisoners didn't have to wait long before Trump freed them. They're still in the process of being freed, and we have to keep going. To be clear, I don't want to just assume anything just because Trump said they're pardoned. We're already hearing some indications. Yesterday we were hearing some indications that there are little minor roadblocks, little things preventing the J6 political prisoners from reuniting with their family, their friends, reuniting with the nation that betrayed them. And it was the entire nation that betrayed them. This wasn't just a matter of, Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden and Alejandro Mayorkas and Christopher Wray. No, it was all of us. It was all of us. We had American citizens who did nothing wrong. And you could say, well, some of them did something wrong, but I would argue, and I will argue here in a minute, that would they have done anything wrong if they weren't part of a deep state operation? And when I say part of it, I should say the victims of a deep state op. Would they have done anything wrong? And I would argue that they wouldn't have. But we didn't do enough for the last 4 years. And so it took President Trump coming in and taking care of business. And praise God again for that. We're faced with a lot of challenges coming ahead. I don't want to get to those just yet, because we are, as a nation, we're riding high right now. We're feeling good. I don't want to burst that bubble, but I do believe that at some point the bubble will not necessarily be burst, but at least be attacked, be hit. And I want to prolong the positive feelings that we have. So I'm not going to go too much into the threats that we're facing yet. But I will say this. Know that we are in the middle of a battle. The war has not been won. We still have to fight, as President Trump would say. We still have to win the war. And the war is ongoing. So to say win the war, that's not a reality. We have to continue to win battle after battle after battle after battle. Because very similar to I think it's some trope in the whole movie industry when it comes to good guys and bad guys, we're faced with a similar dilemma. We have to win every single time. We have to win every battle as the good guys. Because all it takes for the bad guys to win the ultimate victory is they have to win the right battles. They can take us down as a nation if we were to allow them to continue to win any of the major battles. All they need is one big one. And there are multiple battles that they could win that would qualify as the big one. So it is incumbent on us to continue to fight. But for today, maybe even for tomorrow, we're going to stay focused on the positive that things are happening, the balls are moving. We busted it. President Trump busted out with so many executive orders yesterday, the vast majority of which I completely agree with, that there's a lot of dust that's still getting unsettled, okay? We don't have to wait for the dust to settle. That's going to take a little bit of time. Instead, we should just try to see through all the dust that he's stirring up, and he's stirring up a bunch. And it's good. It's good. It's positive. We're going to stay positive on today's show because there are some great things that are happening. We will return to the notion that we have so many battles to fight, but not today. We'll get to that some other time. I do want to take a brief moment, though, to retell a story. Somebody had asked me to tell the story again because apparently I didn't do a good enough job the first 3 or 4 times that I've told the story, but it's an important lesson that I think we all need to understand. If you were to ask any Trump supporter, any truly patriotic American, if we would have wanted President Trump to win in 2020, the vast majority would say yes. And I would argue that, especially considering in retrospect what we went through for the last 4 years under the Biden-Harris regime, many who maybe weren't Trump supporters before were wishing that he would have won in 2020. We were hoping, we were praying, many of us were praying that the stolen election of 2020 would be reversed, that the truth would come out. I remember doing shows about the so-called Moab, the mother of all bombshells. I said that's what it's going to take. I was saying this very early on. I said they are clearly doing everything they can, everything in their power, to not only steal the votes, but to also suppress and subvert any attempts to expose them stealing the votes. That's why they continue to go after Rudy Giuliani. They continue to try to gaslight us into not seeing what we saw. They say, well, it's already been adjudicated. It was never, ever properly adjudicated. Not where we were able to take the evidence, the mountains of evidence, and expose it in a court of law. There was always loophole this or jurisdiction that. You don't have standing here. You can't make this claim. I mean, it seemed to be a systematic attack on the truth. It seemed to be wait for it, a conspiracy. And we prayed. We fought. I did shows every day, wrote articles every day. I put so much of my own personal capital into trying to overturn the fraudulent results of the 2020 election. I did. And many of you did as well. We wanted Trump to win. And praise God that he did not. Praise God that he did not win. Now we can look back and we can say, oh my gosh, we've suffered so much. We've suffered so much for the last 4 years. But guess what? If you're watching the show, you survived. Most of us did. Most of us made it through despite the challenges. We made it through. We got to the point to where here today, on January 21st, 2025, President Donald Trump is in the White House. That wouldn't have been the case if we had our will done, but it's not our will that gets done. It is God's will that gets done, and God's will was for President Trump to be in the White House today, on January 21st, 2025. With our will being done, with our desires, he would have stayed in the White House. He never would have left. We would have won. Joe Biden never would have been president. And guess where we would be today? We would be sitting with somebody else as president in this absolutely crucial time in not just American history, but world history. A time where I consider this to be the end times. I want Trump in the White House today. I'm glad that we lost. I'm glad that I was wrong. Because if I had been right, and if we were able to correct the issue, to expose the voter fraud of 2020, then guess what? Who would be in the White House today? Gavin Newsom? Michelle Obama? Nikki Haley? Ron DeSantis? Those people, oh God, Here's a scary one. What about Mike Pence? We would be in a very bad situation going into this crucial stage of human history. So I'm glad that God's will was done. But it wasn't just about timing either. It was about the lessons learned. Imagine had we had our will done and Trump had won or been allowed to win in 2020. Mike Pence would have been vice president for the last 4 years. Mike Pence would have been vice president. Chances are slim to none that, President Trump considered him to be a friend and a close ally and a confidant and an advisor all the way up until the point where Pence finally betrayed him after the election was lost. Had the election not been lost, then Trump would never have known that his vice president, his top guy, was a backstabber. He would have just kept wondering, why in the world am I getting stabbed in the back? I interviewed Dr. Peter Navarro a couple years ago, and he relayed to me how when he was in the White House with Pence during COVID-19, that he was watching and he would try to relay this information to President Trump. He was watching as Mike Pence was stabbing Donald Trump in the back, working very closely with Deborah Birx and Anthony Fauci during the early days of COVID. And, he would go to Trump and he would tell him, look, this guy, this is not good. And Trump's like, Trump didn't know. Trump needed to lose in order to realize how much the swamp had infiltrated his administration. He had a good idea in 2020, but it wasn't until 2021, it wasn't until after the stolen election, that he realized how deep the deep state had gotten into his campaign or his administration. He started seeing that many of the people that he truly trusted were not trustworthy. He learned the lessons that he needed to learn. Praise God for that. We would have had a very different situation. But we also would have had a nation that didn't know the difference. Because guess what? A lot of these people that voted for Trump this election hated Trump and voted against him in 2020. And if he had won, those people would have continued to hate Trump for the next 4 years, and they would have been very much wholeheartedly still under the spell of legacy media. That would have been very much still under the spell of the Democrats' deceit. It took experiencing Joe Biden for millions of Americans to realize that the Democrats are awful. It took watching corporate media bow and cover up for Joe Biden, bow to and cover up for Joe Biden, and lie constantly about Trump. It took them seeing the lawfare, seeing the assassination attempts, seeing all these things that would not have happened had Trump had won or been allowed to win in 2020. He was able to pick up at least hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of additional supporters who never would have supported him had he won the 2020 election. So this has been, pound for pound overall, a tremendous win for the United States of America. This has been an amazing positioning by God. And if you really think back, none of us would have wanted it. If our will had been done, the vast majority of us would have been super ecstatic. Let's say on January 7th of 2021, some bombshell drops and the dominoes start falling, and it's revealed that the 2020 election had been stolen, and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they say, we didn't know, they start protecting themselves, and they're like, we didn't know, but it appears that the election was rigged, and so, we're going to hold we're going to instruct Congress to redo, I don't know, whatever. Let's say there was a scenario where the voter fraud was exposed and Trump had won. We would have been ecstatic. All of us would have been so happy. We would have been so wrong. the world would be a very different place today. And the world tomorrow, the United States of America tomorrow, would be potentially set up for disaster. Our will is stupid. God's will is supreme. And it's always right, even if we don't realize at the time that we are completely wrong and that the thing that we think is so bad turns out to be a good thing. President Trump is in the White House right now. And praise God for that. I've got a good show for you. A great show. Let's get started. Enrique Tarrio, former Proud Boys leader, freed from prison after President Trump pardons January 6 defendants. I've long said that the president should issue a blanket pardon across the board. Everybody involved in J6 fully pardoned. No questions asked. The reason being is because they were, in my humble opinion, they were entrapped. This was a deep state operation. Now, were there people that engaged in crimes? Yeah, of course there were. Not all of them that have been arrested and jailed and are now political prisoners. Not all of them committed crimes, in my humble opinion, but some of them did. But here's the thing. Would they have committed crimes if the deep state and their FBI agents and assets would not have instigated the quote-unquote riots? I think not. Would there have been an insurrection or a quote-unquote insurrection at all had the deep state not denied President Trump's offer for 10,000 National Guardsmen to protect the Capitol building? I would say definitely not. And they used Nancy Pelosi and Mayor Bowser to inexplicably deny the offer, the very generous and appropriate offer by President Trump at the time to defend the Capitol with 10,000 National Guardsmen. So, point being is that yes, crime, no crime doesn't matter. They were suckered into it, and as a result, because it was a deep state operation, they should all be pardoned. Well, now at least what appears to be I still haven't gotten 100% confirmation, but it appears that they all are pardoned, or at least all of them other than 14 who had their sentences commuted instead. But Enrique Tarrio is among those who has been pardoned. And his crime, did he go in? Did he start punching police at the January 6th event? Did he run in and steal podiums or do anything bad in the Capitol? No. He didn't even go in the Capitol. He wasn't even there. But he got a 22-year sentence. So I'm very happy for Enrique Tarrio. According to the article by Tom Ozimek over at the Epoch Times, the first of the jailed January 6 detainees have been released from prison according to family members' posts on social media after President Donald Trump took swift action on pardons of what he called January 6 hostages in a speech following his inauguration. Now, I don't call them hostages. I call them, they are hostages to some extent, or were, praise God. But no, I think they are political prisoners. They were used to make an example of, to try to dissuade us from ever attempting to protest government. They don't want people who are non-compliant, such as you, me, or the J6ers. Back to the article. After departing the Capitol, yada, 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 he pardoned approximately 1,500 in connection with the breach, as they call it. One of those already freed from prison, already out, is Enrique Tarrio, the former leader of the Proud Boys group, who was facing a 22-year prison term related to the January 6th incident. There are murderers and child rapists who get far shorter terms. They were making an example, especially of leaders of groups such as the Proud Boys. They really wanted to completely quash any patriotic movement. Now, do I agree with everything the Proud Boys do? No. But I don't agree with everything that any group does. Do I agree with a lot? You betcha. I do. I do support the Proud Boys. I'll say it. I know that's probably not the right thing to say on a podcast, but by golly, a lot of their stuff is very good. According to his mother, Zuni Tarrio, Enrique Tarrio is free at last. Thank God Almighty, free at last. Very, very appropriate timing for her to make that post on X. Tarrio, who did not enter the Capitol on January 6th, was convicted of seditious conspiracy. In other words, it's all his fault, not Ray Epps, who was like, we're going into the Capitol. He got nothing. But Enrique Tarrio was convicted falsely, wrongly. But that wrong has now been righted. Praise God for President Trump. His lawyer asked Trump for a pardon in a letter in which he called Tarrio nothing more than a proud American that believes in true conservative values. And amen to that. Trump's order grants a full and unconditional pardon to all individuals convicted of offenses related to the January 6th incident, with the exception of 14 individuals who did not receive a pardon but have had their sentences commuted. Again, it appears as if this is a blanket pardon / 14 commutations, right? I will believe it fully when I see it. It appears that, and the early reports yesterday were that there were some prisoners who were not allowed to be released. As soon as every single last January 6th political prisoner is released, I'm still going to cover this. We're still going to raise hell about it because I want to see it done all the way through. This is not something where it's like, okay, President Trump signed it, it's a done deal. We got to watch. We got to watch them. We got to make sure that they follow through with what they have been commanded to do through executive order by President Donald J. Trump.
I'm Jonathan Rose, CEO of Genesis Gold Group. As Americans, we work hard every day to provide for our families and ensure their future. But with the uncertainty facing our economy, it is more important than ever to safeguard your wealth and protect your retirement savings. Educated investors look to safe haven assets to shield themselves from the economic storm. Tangible assets like gold and silver can provide stability, security, and most importantly, peace of mind. In 1997, the Taxpayer Relief Act allowed Americans to hold physical precious metals like gold and silver in their IRAs for the first time. Today, Genesis Gold Group helps our clients transfer existing IRAs, 401ks, and other retirement accounts into physical gold and silver, tax and penalty free. With thousands of satisfied clients, 5-star reviews, and fully accredited with the Better Business Bureau, our experienced team is here to help you navigate the process, start to finish. Now is the time to educate yourself on the importance of a diversified portfolio, including tangible assets like gold and silver. Call now to receive our free wealth protection kit and digital dollar defense guide. Call now and we'll include our extremely popular silver prepper bar free when you open your account. Add it to your IRA or have it sent to your home. Call Genesis Gold Group today at 800-200-GOLD. Prepper bar only available through Genesis Gold Group.
Yesterday was a very big day for the state of Ohio. They had their biggest college football team, Ohio State, won the national championship, defeating Notre Dame. They had their former senator sworn in as vice president of the United States, but there was also an executive order that will directly affect them, that being the executive order by President Trump to slow, or at least for now, temporarily halt the infusion of refugees into the United States of America. Of course, I think everybody remembers hopefully, the Haitian refugee situation. This, of course, resulted in a great song about eating dogs and eating cats, but I digress. According to an article over at Breitbart.com, Donald Trump halts Biden's refugee inflow for months. President Donald Trump, man, I love saying those words. It's great to be able to say that, isn't it? President Donald Trump signed an executive order blocking President Joe Biden's huge inflow of wage-cutting refugees for at least 4 months. The shutdown will help Americans because it trims the government's supply of cheap foreign labor into the nation's workplace. The wage benefits will flow mostly to the many citizens, legal immigrants, and illegal immigrants who are now working in the nation's slaughterhouses that normally hire many refugees. The cutoff of foreign labor will also pressure the meatpacking sector to invest in productivity-boosting robots and recruit some of the several million American men who have fallen out of the economy. The news was released on January 20th, yesterday, by the Associated Press, and they said Trump also intends to suspend refugee settlements for 4 months, the officials said. That's a program that for decades has allowed hundreds of thousands of people from around the world fleeing war and persecution to come to the United States. Now, notice how they worded that. Talking about hundreds of thousands of people for decades. Well, they didn't note in there, of course, because they are fake news, left-wing legacy media. What they didn't note is that just in the last 4 years, we have seen hundreds of thousands of refugees, over 200,000 from Afghanistan alone. So when they say, for decades, hundreds of thousands of refugees have come in, they conspicuously omit that a huge chunk of them have come just in the last few years. They diffuse it by saying it's been happening for decades, right? Well, Trump wants just a 4-month halt. Okay, let us regroup. Let us get our bearings. Let us figure out what the heck is going on. Because I don't think anybody knows. The media definitely doesn't know. They definitely hope you don't know. I don't think anybody in government really knows the full extent, and those who do are keeping it secret. But I think it's also funny that they go after, halting the Afghanistan refugees. Legacy media is very, how shall we say it, selective with their outrage. These are the same people that when Joe Biden had his awful Afghanistan withdrawal, they were making excuses for him. They were saying that it wasn't so bad. Now, all of a sudden, that the refugees have been halted for 4 months, years after the Afghanistan debacle, now they're saying, oh my gosh, this is so terrible, this is awful, this is really bad for the poor Afghanistan people. And they even highlighted, in one story that I read, they highlighted the fact that a lot of these people on the flights that have now been halted, a lot of these people apparently include unaccompanied minors because their parents had already come to the United States as refugees. They don't know that, why would they come to the United States as refugees and leave their children behind for the Taliban? Doesn't seem like maybe we're doing a bad thing by halting those flights now. President Trump tells Chief of Staff Susie Wiles to go figure out what's going on with all those mystery drones so we can report it to the people. That's very funny because the reporter asks, he was in the middle of signing one of his many executive orders yesterday, and reporter asks about the mystery drones. He's like, oh yeah, we need to figure that out. It's kind of like, sort of like, here's this big, huge story that was plaguing the news cycle and conspiracy theory websites, including my show for a long time, late last year, early this year. And then, he's like, oh yeah, that's right. It came to mind. Hey, let's go figure out what's going on. He's talking to his chief of staff, and she's like, when? He's like, now, immediately, go, do it. Scoot. Get on that so we can tell the American people. Here, watch.
But is it anything, these drones, is it anything that people need to be worried about?
No, I think it's terrible. I would like to find out what it is and tell the people.
And can you commit to some kind of...
In fact, I'd like to do that. Could we find out what that was, Susie? Okay? Yeah, why don't we find out immediately? I mean, I can't imagine it's an enemy, or there would have been, people would have gotten blown up all over. Maybe they were testing things. I don't know why they wouldn't have said what it was. They had a lot of them flying over Bedminster, which is interesting, right?
And with the events today...
Now, this is a story that I don't want to get swept under the rug because I definitely do want to know. I remember, so shortly after it really started making the news, President Trump had insinuated, didn't directly say, but he insinuated that he knew what it was, which made sense considering that he was getting national security briefings starting in mid-November. So, end of December, early January, he was talking about it. And he was like, yeah, it's I don't know why they're not telling people. It's not that big of a deal. I don't remember the exact words, but he insinuated that he knew what it was. And now he doesn't know what it was, and that's fine. He has that prerogative to know or not know what anything in particular is. But with that said, I do want to hold his feet to the fire on this one because we want to know. We want to know exactly what happened. So he's now said it officially as President of the United States that he wants to find out so he can tell us. Now let's make sure that he does indeed tell us. And if he doesn't, then I would assume that means it's something bad enough. So bad that it's like, oh, wow, okay. All right, let's not do that one. And for those who are like, oh, Trump would never do that, he's done that in the past, okay? He'll say something. He'll say, hey, yeah, we need to release the JFK files. He talked about releasing all of them completely, totally back in 2016. And then he's like, yeah, I saw them. If you saw what I saw, you'd understand why I didn't release them all. It would have caused a lot of trouble, a lot of panic. He's not... he is still, he has a responsibility to the truth, but he also has a responsibility to try to keep order and to protect our nation's secrets. I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying that if he feels that we can't know about it or that he can't disclose it at this time, then he's not going to. I would hope that, based upon what he's told us, based upon what he may or may not know, and hopefully, Lord willing, based upon what he does learn about it, that he is going to finally tell us, and then we can know for sure if it was China or if it was Russia or if it's aliens or whatever it is. Maybe it's just DARPA. Who knows? Who knows? I have my theories, but I'm not going to talk about them right now. 7 key focal points of Trump's first day executive orders on last night's live show, which airs at 6 p.m. Pacific time at jdrucker.com/rumble. You can definitely check that out every night, at least 5 nights a week, sometimes 6, sometimes even 7. But on last night's show, I was talking about executive orders, and I tried to go through as many as I could. I think we got through a bunch, but it was insufficient. I mean, let's face it. This is nothing like we've ever seen before, and rightly so. I'm not a fan of executive orders, but when you're coming off of what we just experienced the last 4 years under the Biden-Harris regime, you need changes, and you need them immediately, and you need aid. You need help. We need help. So I am, for once, temporarily glad about executive orders. Now we need to, of course, codify a bunch of what Trump is doing. That is super important, and I don't know if we'll be able to do it, not with the current makeup of Congress. You've got the razor thin majority in the House. You've got a 3 senator majority in the Senate. Not enough to overcome a filibuster. We need to start basically campaigning for 2026 now, because we want the second half of Trump's second term to be even better than the first, and the only way that can happen is if he has the full support of a proper Republican-controlled Congress, but more importantly, an America First controlled Congress. So not only do we need to get more Republicans in the House and the Senate, we need to get rid of the rhinos, as many as possible. But look, I don't want to start getting into strategy today. We're on day 1 of the Trump administration. So let's focus on some of the good, and a lot of good came out of these executive orders that he pushed yesterday. Rollcall.com. Who is this? This is Niels Lesniewski. Nice. Posted an article, 7 key focal points of Trump's first day executive orders. He issued more than 200, and there's a few that we need to highlight. We're going to do that right now. President Donald Trump's flurry of first day executive actions included a slew of orders related to health, energy, international relations, and the federal workforce. That's in addition to the nearly across-the-board pardons of those convicted of offenses related to January 6th, yada, yada, yada. And, of course, the pause on enforcing the prohibition of TikTok, which maybe I'll cover. Maybe I'll just, you know what, I'm just going to let that one go. I talked about it a little bit yesterday in last night's show. I'm done. Well, done for now, at least. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said on X that there were more than 200 executive actions from Trump on his first day and a total of 115 personnel actions, which are very important, of course, too. We're starting to see a purge in the military of top brass. Let's keep that going. Need to de-wokeify. Got to get Pete Hegseth in. Pete Hegseth made it out of committee yesterday, so that's a good sign. Good signs. I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch, but good signs so far. So let's get into some of these important ones, and this is one that's been a topic that I have covered for years. Birthright citizenship really chaps my khakis, and we are a step closer to fixing this abomination. One of Trump's actions most likely to face legal challenges is an order that would narrow the accepted constitutional definitions of those eligible for U.S. citizenship by birthright. Many children born on U.S. soil, to those not lawfully in the United States, or to those on tourist visas or other temporary documents, would face the new restrictions. In other words, you can't just come in real quick, cross the border as quickly as possible, have a baby, and call him an American. The idea, by the way, birthright citizenship from the beginning, the idea was because we wanted to make sure that as a burgeoning country, a new nation, we wanted to make sure that we had protections for those who wanted to be in America who wanted to become Americans and who wanted their children to grow up in a free America, free from the tyranny of the crown, that they would have that opportunity to do so. Things are different now. We have a completely separate, not separate, but a completely improved nation. I want to say that. I don't know if that's the right word. Bottom line is that now the birthright citizenship, which was a necessary and important component of the United States of America in the early days, has become a plague. It's become a scourge. It's been abused so badly that it does need to be changed. I'm not saying get rid of birthright citizenship altogether. I'm saying if you're going to do it the right way. Senator Jackie Rosen had a problem with it, of course. Donald Trump's attempt to take Americans' birthright citizenship away is extreme, unconstitutional, and illegal. It's both unconstitutional and illegal, according to brainiac Jackie Rosen. I will do everything in my power to protect Nevadans' constitutional rights. Now, is she protecting Nevadans' constitutional rights or the non-constitutional rights of those who aren't Nevadans yet? Look, again, I'm not completely against birthright citizenship. I'm against abuse of birthright citizenship, and so should any American, even a Democrat. Next, we got federal workforce. Trump's orders also seek to make it easier to remove career officials. Yay, please, including members of the senior executive service. One order, which largely reinstates what was known as Schedule F in the first Trump administration, says that occupants of career or policy positions are not required to politically support the president, but they are required to faithfully implement administration policies to the best of their ability, consistent with their constitutional oath and the vesting of executive authority solely in the president. Failure to do so is grounds for dismissal. In other words, you don't have to like Trump if you work in the government, but you got to do what he wants you to do. He is the boss. Okay? So you can't just say, well, the president of the United States wants me to do this, but as a conscientious objector in a position of power within the United States government and without the risk or threat of being fired for my actions or inactions, I'm going to protest. That's how you get the Eric Charamellas of the world, okay? That's how you get the Mike Pences of the world. Let's face it. Mike Pence definitely qualified as somebody who would work against President Trump's, his boss, work against President Trump's decisions and policies in order to try to install his own ideas. Another of the president's directives calls for the return of federal employees to offices on a full-time basis as quickly as possible. You know, a lot of big deals. Elon Musk in particular has made a big fuss about this. Look, I'm a results-oriented guy, okay? In other words, if they can get the job done wherever they are, get the job done. I'm not a big fan of, the only place where action and results can be achieved is if you're sitting there in the cubicle. And maybe it's because I left the cubicle, 2008, I think, maybe 2009 at the latest. I have been cubicle free for a long time, and I remain extremely productive, but maybe I'm the weird one here. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It is what it is. I'm glad about it. I just don't know if it's that big of a deal. WHO, we talked about this last night, but I'll go ahead and briefly discuss it again. Trump also signed an order to resume the effort from his previous administration to withdraw the United States from the World Health Organization. World Health ripped us off, Trump said from the Oval Office while signing executive orders and answering questions from the press. Everyone rips off the U.S. That's not going to happen anymore. And that is very true. The assistant to the president for national security affairs shall establish directorates and coordinating mechanisms within the National Security Council apparatus as he deems necessary and appropriate to safeguard public health and fortify biosecurity. In other words, we're not getting rid of our protections that the World Health Organization allegedly provided. We're just getting out of them, getting away from them, not falling under their doctrines, and we're going to take care of it ourselves, and we'll do a much better job. Now, I would love for a variation of the World Health Organization to be completely privatized. Not World Health Organization, America, I don't care about World Health. American Health Organization to be completely privatized. made up of doctors who are not beholden to big pharma. They're not beholden to insurance. They're not beholden to anybody. They're just there to help set direction for the medical industry outside of government, even. But that's a discussion for another day. Denali. Okay, so this one I don't care, but whatever. Maybe you guys care, so I'm going to read it. One Trump order includes a provision to restore noteworthy locations to their former names, including a directive to rename Denali in Alaska to its former name, Mount McKinley. Senator Rhino dirtbag Lisa Murkowski expressed disagreement with the move, because of course she does, because she's not a Republican. She's not even a rhino. I mean, okay, there are rhinos out there that are like sort of Republican occasionally, sort of, they're really just uniparty swamp people, but then there's what I like to call the McConnellites, the people that are absolutely positively not Republican by any means. They can say Republican talking points from time to time, especially around campaign season, but otherwise they vote against Republican policies. They're well, I don't know. I don't even know. What do you want to call them? I could call them a lot of things, but I'm not going to, because this is a family-friendly show. According to, and this comes from Murkowski in a post on X, our nation's tallest mountain, which has been called Denali for thousands of years, I'm not even going to argue that, though I should, but I won't, must continue to be known by the rightful name bestowed by Alaska's Koyukon Athabascans, who have stewarded the land since time immemorial. Oh, wow. Lots of big words. She's such a smart person. Please, Alaska, figure out. You've had some good options. Just please, can we not do Murkowski any longer? I know we're stuck with her, but is there an impeachment process? Can you do like a recall election? Is there any way to get Lisa Murkowski out of the Senate? You know what? Let's just do a trade. We'll trade the Democrats. You give us John Fetterman because he's so entertaining, and we'll give you Lisa Murkowski because she's so evil, which you guys love. Call me. Let's talk about it. Energy emergency. Trump declared a national emergency designed to promote the development of energy resources. Praise God for that. Hallelujah. This active threat to the American people from high energy prices is exacerbated by our nation's diminished capacity to insulate itself from hostile foreign actors. It's a very long way of saying our grid is fragile, and a lot of people want to take it down, and we're not ready for that. He signed off on a directive to withdraw from the Paris Climate Accords. Boom. And he has had, as he had done in his first administration. Democrats were quick to criticize those directives, including Rep. Frank Pallone Jr., who's a Democrat, of course, from New Jersey, the ranking member of the House Energy and Commerce Committee. In the face of increasing once-in-a-lifetime superstorms, devastating wildfires, and extreme weather events across the country, Americans deserve leadership that recognizes the severity of the growing crisis we all face, the determination to tackle it, and the compassion to protect our communities. Now, hold on. let me just stop you right there, buddy. That's exactly what Trump is trying to do here. He recognizes the severity of the growing crisis we all face, the energy crisis that we currently face. He has the determination to tackle it, thus the executive order, thus the desire to drill, baby, drill. And he has the compassion to protect our communities, which again is exactly what he's doing. But that's not what he was talking about. He was talking about climate change, wasn't he? He was, wasn't he? Back to his statement. Unfortunately, today's actions once again demonstrate that Trump continues to prioritize large polluting corporate interests over the American people. No. He prioritizes the American people over the climate change cult. Get it right, man. You're embarrassing yourself. That's a congressman. Wind power. Trump's long-standing opposition to wind energy projects was apparent in a memorandum from the heads of relevant department and agencies, ordering a temporary withdrawal of the offshore continental shelf from new wind project leases. The president also ordered a review of wind energy project leases more broadly, including language that specifically orders the Interior Secretary to review the Lava Ridge wind project in Idaho. Senator Jim Risch from Idaho was among the leaders calling for the project to be halted. And one of the good guys, maybe. He said, Lava Ridge has been the embodiment of the liberals' disregard for the voices of Idahoans and rural Americans. Despite intense and widespread opposition from Ohio. I got Ohio on the mind. Ohio State won. Despite intense and widespread opposition from Idaho and the Japanese American community, the previous administration remained dead set on pushing this unwanted project across the finish line. At long last, the calls from Idahoans to reject Lava Ridge has been answered. He also saved the whales. To be clear, for decades we've been hearing leftists, radicals, talking about saving the whales. And finally, they have a champion in Donald Trump who is saving the whales from those very, very destructive wind farms out in the sea. Boom. Doge. A Ramaswamy free Doge, mind you. Trump directed the establishment of what's been informally billed as the Department of Government Efficiency. It's formally billed. Yeah. Well, now it is. So, the key initiative of businessman Elon Musk through the realignment of an existing executive branch agency. Under an executive order, the United States Digital Service will be rebranded as the United States Doge Service. The agency is supposed to focus on federal information technology modernization. Instead, we're going to make things more efficient, which I think makes a lot more sense. Have you heard of anything that was done before by this United States Digital Services? Did you hear of it? I mean, has your life been positively impacted by it? Did you know it existed? You didn't. You didn't know. I didn't know. And now it doesn't. According to, who is this? This is the order, the executive order that President Trump signed in consultations with USDS. Each agency head shall establish within their respective agencies a Doge team of at least 4 employees, which may include special government employees hired or assigned within 30 days of the date of this order. In other words, everybody. If you got an agency, a department, you got to get on board. You gotta go Doge. I love it. We've got some good, exciting things happening. These are the early days of the Trump administration. We're on day 1. So let's make the most of it. Let's support these efforts. And let's call out, look, if I'm not going to sit here and tell you got to support anything Trump says. I will be the first to come out and say, hey, that's wrong. So far, just saying, everything other than TikTok, everything that President Trump has been pushing for, other than TikTok, has been, I've approved of. And I have not spoken out against any of them. I've supported all of them, other than TikTok. Last year, my long-term storage food company, Prepper Farms, was partnered with and actually owned by another corporation. I know that nobody knew this. Very few people were even aware that this was the case because our production, our systems, everything was in place and working just as it should be. People would go, they would put in promo code JDR at prepperfarms.com. They would receive the maximum possible discount, as always, and then they would get their long-term storage beef. Things, what you didn't know and what we can now explain now is that this year, in 2025, we have gone back to the original ownership structure, and I'm very excited about that because that puts me finally back more in charge, and I am super excited about that concept, not because I crave power by any means, but because I feel that as an America First veteran-owned company that we need to focus on helping Americans to prepare for whatever is to come, whether it's natural disasters or emergencies or de-dollarization, food crises, bird flu, whatever it is. We do expect something to happen, which is why we built prepperfarms.com in the first place. The idea here is to get high-quality, all-American, all-Texas beef, the good stuff, ribeye, New York strip, tenderloin, all of that good stuff, and freeze dry it naturally to give it a 25-year shelf life. We don't add any preservatives. There's only one One ingredient, and that's beef. Last 25 years in the bag, and that's awesome. So support this show, support me, support yourself and your family. Protect yourself for the future by stocking up on long-term storage, high-quality beef. Go to prepperfarms.com. That's prepperfarms.com. Use promo code JDR, and you will receive the maximum possible discount. Guiding hand. Look at all Trump survived to get here. And let's face it, look at what we all survived to get here. What we survived as a nation, what we survived as individuals and as families, and of course, what Donald Trump survived. But even those of us who have faced hard times, which I would assume is most of us, facing hard times for the last 4 years, even we, the vast majority of us, have not had to face what Donald Trump has faced. Very few of us, if any, have had to face multiple lawsuits. Very few of us, if any, have had to face multiple criminal charges. And I would sincerely doubt, at least I would hope, that any of us have had to face 2 assassination attempts that we know of. There could have been more that we don't know of and that we never will know about. But still, I mean, 2's enough. 1's enough. 1's too many. And yet here he is, waking up the day after Inauguration Day in the White House. And he's waking up early. The lights were already on when I checked, which was before 3 a.m. Eastern time. Sorry, 3 a.m. Pacific time, so 6 a.m. Eastern time. He was already up this morning doing his thing because that's what he does. So article over at thefederalist.com by M.D. Kittle. Really, it's a great article. I strongly recommend reading it all. I'm not going to read it all to you, but I will read parts of it because it is telling. And I know that we've talked about this or similar topics a lot, and other people have as well. But I want to take just one final crack at making sure that we understand how miraculous this is. Because if it is, if you are like me and you believe that, we have been brought here to this moment. President Trump and the rest of us have been brought to this very moment because of God's sovereignty, God's ultimate power. If you believe that, then that means that there is hope, that we as a nation are not done just yet. According to the article, let's face it, a lot of Trump derangement syndrome sufferers believed he would be in prison by Inauguration Day. And as a matter of fact, a lot of TDS sufferers thought that perhaps he might be dead before Inauguration Day. Some of these hideous people were actually hoping for a third Trump assassination attempt that was successful. Very, very ugly people. Wind chills hovered in the teens on Monday morning in the nation's capital as President-elect Donald J. Trump prepared to take the presidential oath of office inside the more comfortable U.S. Capitol Rotunda. It was fitting it was so frigid in Washington, D.C. on this Inauguration Day. Democrats had long thought it would be a cold day in hell before Republican Trump would be elected president again. But here he was, the man the left loves to hate, being sworn in as the 47th president of the United States. I was saved by God, he said. Let's face it, a lot of Trump derangement syndrome sufferers believed the 45th president would be in prison by January 20th, 2025, a day Trump, in his inaugural address, for so many reasons, declared as Liberation Day. Plenty of MAGA conservatives rightly worried, too, that this great drainer of the swamp, the disruptor of the deep state, wouldn't make it to this moment. But by the grace of God and a fragment of an inch, Donald Trump stood before his fellow Americans and raised his right hand to once again solemnly swear to faithfully execute the office of President of the United States. Political redemption and the sweet, sweet revenge of success? Sure. The hand of providence? Trump absolutely believes so, and so do many of his supporters. I was saved by God to make America great again, he said, to a standing ovation from his family and friends. Cameras panned to the president's wife, First Lady Melania Trump, and their son, Barron, who fervently nodded. His political opponents, who had spent the better part of the past decade trying to destroy him, kept their seats, their eyes filled with a mix of disdain and loss. That is why each day under our administration of American patriots, we will be working to meet every crisis with dignity and power and strength, Trump continued. We will move with purpose and speed to bring back hope, posterity, safety, and peace for citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. For American citizens, January 20th, 2025 is Liberation Day, the president triumphantly proclaimed, to applause from the liberated and stunned expressions from the predecessors. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, the Democrats' DEI-promoted replacement candidate, Trump vanquished in November's election. Gosh. And I did watch as they seemed more downtrodden than I would have expected. You know, at least for Kamala Harris, you would think maybe she's relieved. Maybe I started getting the feeling that she wasn't, I mean, we've known that she wasn't up to the task for a long time. And I started thinking that maybe she felt she wasn't up to the task because the stress was clearly getting to her. Now, if the stress from the campaign gets to you, the stress of the office is definitely going to get to you. And as vice president, she was able to see the effects that it had on Joe Biden, who, you know, as bad as he was in 2019 and 2020 during the election, I thought he was already suffering from dementia at that point. He really went downhill once he got into the Oval Office. And they did everything they could to pamper him, to buffer him. They put him inside a sometimes I was going to say a figurative bubble, but sometimes it was a literal bubble, a bubble of protection around him to make sure that he didn't deteriorate too fast, and yet he still did. So between the two of them, I would have expected them to be sort of relieved, and maybe they are. They sure didn't look like it during Trump's inauguration speech. But moving on, it wasn't just assassins or Democrats. Well, it was Democrats, but it wasn't just assassins. They call it lawfare, he said. Trump faced multiple criminal prosecutions through Democrats' weaponization of the criminal justice system, particularly Biden's corrupt Department of Justice. He was convicted in a kangaroo court in Manhattan on trumped-up charges, even as the conflicted leftist judge presiding over the trial ultimately sentenced Trump to no penalty. There's been a weaponization of government. They call it lawfare. Never happened to any extent like this, but never happened in our country before, Trump said before following the judge's impotent sentence just days before the president's inauguration. It's an injustice of justice. Very well spoken. The same people who warned that Trump and the Republicans who backed him were a threat to democracy desperately tried to remove the GOP's most popular candidate for president from the ballot. That lawfare stunt ultimately failed badly when the U.S. Supreme Court, in a unanimous ruling, found the Democrats' undemocratic actions unconstitutional. Throughout the past 4 years, the left's lawfare strategy has been about politically crippling and bankrupting the billionaire businessman so he can no longer pose a threat to their power. With each arrest, each mugshot, each indictment, each star chamber, Trump emerged stronger in the polls. Americans saw through the banana republic games the left was playing. That fact was a small miracle given the corporate media were all in on the games, outright interfering in the 2024 election. And praise God for that. Let's talk about that real quick. You know, we can say, oh my gosh, you know, he had to fight the legacy media. They were totally against him and it was just awful. And it was terrible. But he won. Now, if he'd lost, I would be singing a different tune. But he won big. So now I can say, in retrospect, I'm very happy that legacy media did what they did. I'm very happy that they exposed themselves as the shills for the Democrat Party, the shills for the uniparty swamp, really, as the lapdogs of the globalist elite cabal. This is a positive, okay? At the time, certainly felt negative. But how many people do you know who still think that legacy media is worth watching and who still trust what they're being told? Even those who watch Fox News are starting to realize that not everything that comes out of the show host's mouth is going to be truthful or accurate. They too are still legacy media. They too are still corrupt. Are they less corrupt than CNN? Yes. Is CNN a little bit less corrupt than MSNBC? Yes. but all of them are corrupt. And I think people are starting to realize this. Praise God for that. And also, we can thank them for sticking their necks out so far that they chop their own heads off, pretty much. That's legacy media, but let's move on. The drive to stop Trump at all costs took a deadly turn at a warm July evening campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, where a would-be assassin slipped through the criminally incompetent watch of the U.S. Secret Service and fired off several shots at the Republican presidential candidate and supporters. Trump was hit in the ear, narrowly escaping a mortal wounding. Corey Comparator, a rallygoer, was killed in the attack, and 2 others were seriously injured. Blood streaming down his face, Trump stood up on the rally stage and urged Americans to fight, fight, fight. That iconic moment, the ultimate symbol of Trump's indomitable spirit, may very well have sealed his victory in November. I was at the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee just 2 days later. The feeling of a guiding hand of Providence was palpable in the building, particularly as Trump surprised the crowd and showed up with a bandaged ear on the first night of the convention. Honestly, I'm telling you that God saved this guy. Normal Paul, a delegate from New York, told me above the din of the convention floor at the first Fiserv Forum, home of the NBA's Milwaukee Bucks. Is it Fiserv? I don't know. In downtown Milwaukee, not a fan of the Bucks, not a fan of the NBA anymore. Used to be, whatever. I think he was protected by God, Paul said, gravely adding, 1 inch, he's done. That's a sentiment shared by a lot of Americans who these days are feeling delivered from 4 years of incompetence and corruption and cover-ups in their federal government. Undoubtedly, the deep failures of the Biden administration, crippling inflation and invasion of our border, leftist identity politics injected into every aspect of life, had a lot to do with the left's deep losses in November. But the guy who fought like hell to reclaim America's greatness, the former president whom Democrats declared a threat to democracy, has survived everything the left has dished out to preserve his nearly 250-year-old democratic republic. Who could say Providence had something to do with Liberation Day? Trump definitely does. And I do encourage you to read the rest of the article. It is inspiring. And we need to not just pass this moment up. This is something where we need to stop. Stop what you're doing right now. Pause the show if you have to. And pray your appreciation to God for this tremendous blessing. We all have reasons to be thankful. This is one of those rare opportunities where we, as a nation, can be thankful for God's providence, thankful for God's sovereignty, and thankful, if we're being completely transparent on this, thankful that God has not abandoned us. We deserve to be abandoned. We deserve to be burned like Sodom and Gomorrah. We've done far worse as a nation. And yet, here we are, December 21st, January 21st, 2025, and we're still around, and things are looking brighter than they have for a very long time. Praise God for that. Is Trump ushering in an era of responsible journalism too? It's a good question. And during the last segment, I actually covered what I believe to be the reality, which is we were blessed by their lies. Okay? Again, if Trump had lost, then I would be completely taking a different approach. But because he won, in spite of their lies, it allowed not you and me because we've known for years, but it allowed normies, other people, to start questioning the validity of the claims that were made by legacy media. That's something that we weren't seeing from 2016 all the way through 2020. We definitely didn't see it after January 6th, after January 20th, 2021, when President Biden was officially inaugurated 4 years ago yesterday. For 4 years, we got to see corporate media lie. But it wasn't just us this time. other people were finally starting to realize it. Other people were starting to recognize that the things that they were being told for the last previous 4 years, and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 years, that a lot of those things, maybe most of those things as they pertain to President Trump, were just bald-faced lies. They weren't even close to the truth. Don't even get me started on the very fine people comment, which, to be clear, it wasn't just media. It was also Democrats, including Barack Obama, who ruined his own reputation to continue to push lies. They got cocky. They thought, you know what? Corporate media, legacy media, they're still the arbiters of truth. So if they say it's true, then the people are too stupid to realize that it's not. But you and I have been proving it for a long time. And now over the last few years, we see regular other people proving it as well, that they're not going to sit there and just take everything that legacy media says at face value. According to this article from Issues and Insights, you can find them at issuesinsights.com. And it's a very good site. I agree with a lot of what they write, not all of it. But according to their editorial board, in his inaugural speech, President Donald Trump talked about ushering in a new golden age for America. Is he also ushering in a new era of responsible journalism? Yes, that's harder to believe than any of the other promises Trump made, such as the one about how he'd keep our children disease-free. But we thought we saw a faint glimmer of what honest journalism could look like on Monday. For years, journalists had decided to label anything Trump said with which they disagreed a lie. That was especially true when it came to any Trump claim about the integrity of the 2020 election. For example, here's a headline from the New York Times in October. It said, "Inside the movement behind Trump's election lies." This wasn't about correcting the record. It was about attacking Trump every which way they could. When Joe Biden told an outright lie, the press routinely dismissed it as a gaffe or an exaggeration or just Joe being Joe. But anytime Trump made a boast, the press would scream, "Liar!" Sorry, that was my best impersonation from The Princess Bride. If he exaggerated for effect, "Liar!" It got to the point where if Trump said the sky was blue, the press would call him a liar because, in fact, the sky isn't blue. It only appears blue because of the way the light interacts with the atmosphere. And that's so true. But look at the fact check the New York Times ran on the day of Trump's second inauguration. It says Trump repeats inaccurate claims in inaugural remarks. The quote-unquote inaccurate claim to which the Times is referring includes statements by Trump that the 2020 election was rigged, the very thing the Times was calling an outright lie not long ago. We're trying not to read too much into this, but it is a hint of what a return to responsible journalism would look like. Report the facts without fear or favor and stop acting like the propaganda arm of the Democrat Party. Yes, we know this is an impossible dream, but one can hope, can't one? Inaccurate claims. Let's be clear. The 2020 election was stolen. And as I said in the beginning, it was stolen because it was supposed to be stolen. We're supposed to be here where we are right now. Right now, we are supposed to have President Donald J. Trump waking up in the White House on January 21st, 2025. And that would not have been the case had he won, had he been allowed to win the 2020 election. So, two Issues and Insights, to their point, I don't care. I'm done with them either way, they being legacy media. And I would ask that you be done with them as well. You might say, but where are we going to get our news if not through legacy media? There are other sources. There are other ways, and I would argue that in the coming weeks, maybe months, but I would say probably weeks, we're going to see a lot more of these more independent news sites. We're going to see them gain in viewership, readership. We're going to see them blow up because people are I can tell this because I get to see the statistics, for example, over at thelibertydaily.com, which is about as independent as it gets. Okay, we're beholden to nobody. Not Donald Trump, not the Republican Party, Definitely not the Democrats, not the Uniparty swamp, not the deep state. They all come after us. We're not sufficiently pro-Trump from time to time, is what they'll say. Or we're helping the Democrats if we criticize the Republicans, they'll say. But no, we're just truly independent. We call it how we see it. And I'm not bragging. I'm not trying to say, oh, you got to go to thelibertydaily.com or americafirstreport.com or discernreport.com or whatever. I'm not telling you where you're going to get your news. I'm just telling you, you don't have to get your news from Fox News or CNN or the New York Times or anyplace else. There's going to be options for you. People are starting to wake up, and that's a good thing for independent journalism. It's a good thing for me. I think it's a good thing for you, and it's definitely a good thing for the United States of America. Lord willing, I'll be back very soon with another episode. But in the meantime, y'all stay strong, stay safe, and God bless.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving us with a ton of extra My Pillows. But you know what? That's their loss. I'm going to make it your gain. For the first time ever, you get standard classic My Pillows for wholesale prices, only $14.88. I can't believe I'm even saying that. Only $14.88. But it gets even better. For a limited time, I'm going to offer my entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Upgrade to a queen size My Pillow for just $18.88. King size only $1 more. Get my body pillows for $29.88 and multi-use My Pillows for only $9.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on the screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever on TV, including my standard size My Pillow, only $14.88. They've never been offered this low before. We have limited quantities at this price, so limit's going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone.
Here's a true story. I was testing out some coffee. This has been almost a year ago. Testing out some coffee for a potential sponsor. I've been going for what? 15 minutes? And I didn't notice the people in chat saying that I forgot to turn the sound on. If you could have heard everything that I just said, it was absolutely brilliant. Just pretend like you were listening to the best soliloquy you've ever heard. It was that good. And I'm not going to be able to duplicate it. What? Oh, how disheartening is that? I am so sorry, folks. That's the second time in 3 days that I've done that. So here's just as a quick, I don't know, to explain it. We do the first hour. First hour's live. As the editor of the Liberty Daily and being on shift, I have to use the second hour to work. Okay, I can't sit here for 3 hours, 4 hours at a time without working. Okay, we need to get headlines up. I need to be reading articles. I need to be staying on top of the news. So what I do is I take my recording of the Frank Speech show that I record earlier in the day, and we play that for the second hour. But I have to be sure to mute myself so that I'm not, I'm not interrupting myself. Somebody comes in and says, "Hey, do you want an order of blooming onion?" I don't know. I'm like, "Yeah, let's do that." But so I have to mute my mic. And then when I come out of the break, I have to click certain buttons. And for whatever reason, 2 out of the last 3 days, I've come out of break or come out of the pre-record and forgot to unmute myself. And today it came back to bite me because I actually went through an entire story about DEI. Such a shame, such a shame, such a waste. Maybe it wasn't meant to be. You know what? Apologies. Great apologies for that. So I'm not going to read I'm going to give let's start from scratch for this last segment. Let's start from scratch. I'll give you the Cliff's Notes versions for those who are old enough to remember Cliff's Notes before Google and all that stuff. I'll give you the Cliff's Notes versions of this particular story that we have posted over at the Liberty Daily, titled President Trump's orders closure of all DIE offices, or that's what we call it. It's actually DEI, but we call it DIE offices by the end of the day, Wednesday. So if you are in the East Coast, it already is Wednesday. If you're in the West Coast, it will be Wednesday later. Unless you're watching the I can't believe I did that. How long was I going? Gosh, I was going like 15 minutes. Son of a gun. Anyway, bottom line. So DEI is dead. Okay, you can see the image on the screen. DEI is dead, at least in government. The Office for Personnel Management is going to they sent out the memo saying, hey, by end of the day tomorrow, end of the day Wednesday, 5 p.m., you got to do certain things. You got to tell everybody, all your staff, that they're on paid administrative leave. They don't work anymore. You got to get rid of all your social media accounts, all your websites, anything that is DEI related. That department is gone, and we want their socials gone. We want their websites taken down. We want everything gone. Any contracts you had. So if you hired Robin DiAngelo to come speak about how white fragility is destroying the world or whatever, then you got to give her the bad news that her contract is canceled. She's got to find a different gig. So that's all happening. DEI is dying on the vine. It's dead, really. As far as the federal government is concerned. And we're seeing this. This is a trend. It's not just the federal government. We're seeing this as a trend across the board. Many, many companies are starting to distance themselves, to cancel, to close their DEI offices. Others are not. I mean, you got companies like Costco that are doubling down. But then you have Walmart. You have some companies that I wouldn't have expected to go unwoke when it comes to basically cave. Facebook. I wouldn't have expected. I mean, who would have pictured, 6 months ago, who would have thought that Facebook's going to get rid of DEI completely in the entire company? They're going to pull the tampon machines out of the men's room. Mark Zuckerberg's going to have a long conversation with Trump. He's going to beg to get involved. He's going to give $1 million to the inauguration fund, and he's going to show up at the inauguration, and he's going to stare at Jeff Bezos' girlfriend's shirt. Or lack thereof. I would not have had that on my bingo card, and yet it's happening. So praise God for that. And thank you, by the way, to Attica Express, you, anybody else who tried to warn me, Rucker, we can't hear you. I do want to do a quick note, and this is this part that you all missed. I'm going to try to redo it and do it better, because this will be take 3, I guess, technically speaking, because I'm referring to what I talked about in the first hour, as far as this whole Operation Stargate thing. I don't want to send the mixed message that we have nothing that we can do. There are things that we can do. But I think it's important that we understand what we're facing. We have to be realistic about the fact that, as opposed to the combination of AI and mRNA technology and everything else that they're trying to throw at us, you and I might be opposed to it. But the vast majority of Americans will not be. Think about it. You got Larry Ellison, and eventually you will have Trump, and you're probably going to have Robert F. Kennedy Jr. echoing it, and you're probably going to have Elon Musk echoing it. You're going to have all these guys saying, hey, this really is the way to the future, and it's going to make America healthy again. How are we going to do it? All you got to do is give us a little bit of your blood. We'll do a blood test. We'll run it through AI. AI will tell us, hey, you've got diabetes, you got cancer, you got whatever. But the good news is we can take your blood, we can analyze it. AI can analyze it, see the ailment, and then within 48 hours, it will craft a personal mRNA injection that will cure you, that will prevent you from getting cancer. Now, how many Americans are going to say, no way, man, no way. You leave my cancer alone. I want to take herbs. How many Americans could say no to that? And the answer is not many, considering that there was plenty of evidence, plenty of bad studies against the original jab, not the original, but as in the first, but when all this got started 4 years ago, those particular jabs, there's already tons of evidence of lack of effectiveness, lack of safety, and yet like 80% or more of Americans took them to some extent. So now we're going to throw something out that's backed by Trump, that's driven by artificial intelligence, that's supported by doctors and everybody else. Are they going to get 99% adoption? Maybe. Will they get at least 90, 95%? You betcha. So when I say that, it's unavoidable. My biggest concern is that pushing people to fight against it could lead them to the understanding that there really are only two ways that we could really truly quote unquote fight. I mean, we can't protest our way on this one. We can't write harshly worded letters or emails. It's not going to do anything. We would either have to, well, one thing that we should do is pray. Okay? We should pray, because I think that God is the only one that could stop this if he chooses to stop it. But if we want to push it further and we want to try to get some tangible results, we'd have to do things that are very bad. We'd have to engage effectively in terrorism. And I'm not willing to do that. I'm not, because number one, I think it's futile. I really do think that even if we were to start blowing up AI labs, that, it's just going to get us arrested, and it's not going to even remotely slow down AI development. So the option to me, and I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer here, but to me it's a matter of, hey, it's going to come. We need to pray that it doesn't. We need to inform as many people as we can about the potential risks and dangers. And we need to tell people that the truth. The truth is this. I'm not going to tell you or anybody else not to utilize artificial intelligence. What I'm going to tell you is that I'm going to give you the warning that the rise of artificial intelligence applied to the rise of other technologies, including mRNA technology, including quantum computing, including all the various things that could pose risks to us, considering that that's going to rise no matter what we do, then it behooves us to be able to distance ourselves from it. In other words, we need to become self-sufficient. I keep repeating it over and over again, but that's the only solution. And try to get as many people as possible to become self-sufficient. I wish, and I said this the other day too, I wish we could come up with our own little mini versions of Galt's Gulches across the country. For those who haven't read Atlas Shrugged, I'm not going to spoil it for you. But I wish, if you have read it, you know what I'm talking about, and I wish we could just pop those up everywhere. Just have a whole bunch of like-minded, freedom-loving Americans working together, defending their own land, their own property, their own families, their own selves, and becoming as self-sufficient as possible, not being beholden to government, to outside forces of any sorts. It's not just because of AI. There are other reasons to do this. So that has become sort of a goal of mine. And this push by President Trump, look, I support him. I support him. And there are very good arguments about, hey, if we don't do it, somebody else will, so we might as well do it. We've got the steadier hand. Why let China take the lead on this? Why let Russia take the lead on this? Why let Bill Gates take the lead on this? Why let whoever else take the lead on this? If we're going to do it, then let's put together a team. Let's put them under President Trump, and let's go. Let's do this. I mean, it's the best bad idea out there, which is why I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh my gosh, we got to, people were comparing this to Operation Warp Speed. It's not. Operation Warp Speed was just a bad decision. Operation Warp Speed was, people say, oh, he was just giving bad advice. Okay, well, it was still bad advice, and he still made the wrong decision. I can attack that. I can oppose that. I can't oppose this. Because those who are supporting it, even those who are skeptical in supporting it, they're right. It's going to happen, and it might as well be us that makes it happen. Even if doing so accelerates it, and I think that it will. He's put together a killer team. That team is only going to get bigger. It's going to get stronger, and once they start getting the land built, or the structures built on the land, once they start getting these massive data farms, once they have the nuclear power or whatever to get them off the grid and make it to where they are self-sufficient, get the cooling, get the security, get everything they need, the people behind it, then yes, we will be a nation that has access to artificial general intelligence at the very least, or artificial superintelligence at the worst. So we have to get ready for that. I mean, that's it. I don't have good news about this. Other than, I shouldn't say that. There is good news, because this to me is exciting. This means that, hey, if what I'm reading, my interpretation, what I'm seeing, and I try to desperately to avoid eisegesis, I want to make sure that I apply the strictest versions of exegesis whenever possible when reading the Bible. But applying that standard, I still see very close correlations between prophecies in the Bible, both Old and New Testament, and what we're seeing unfolding before our eyes. So in that case, hey, that is fantastic news. In which case, I'm not going to go into that. But, I mean, no matter what, AI good, AI bad, AI developed in 5 months, 5 years, 50 years, AGI, ASI, Larry Ellison, Donald Trump, doesn't matter. None of it matters, as far as none of it changes what I believe conscientious, patriotic, perhaps Christian Americans should do, which is to become more self-sufficient, get better at self-governance, be ready, have the resources, the skills, the knowledge, the partnerships, the friendships, the relationships, have all of that ready to go. Or enact it now, not saying, be ready to run to your bunker. Maybe it's time to run to your bunker now. Maybe that's the life that you're ready to live. Or maybe it's just time to get things ready. Or maybe it's time to, just be closer to friends and family, keep them close by. No need to do anything. I mean, this isn't just about survival. This is about preparation. And for some people, it will be a matter of, hey, when the time comes, I'm not going to go run to the hills. I'm going to stay in my apartment, and I'm going to listen to the J.D. Rucker show whenever I can, as long as it's still in the air until they take him away too. And then, and if it comes down to it and they start trying to force me to do stuff, I'm just going to not comply. And if they lock me up for that, so be it. That might be your preparation. And that's fine too. I mean, I wouldn't. That wouldn't be my preparation, but for some people, especially if you are older or infirm, that might be the best way to go. Or you might be a fighter in the opposite direction and say, "Hey, I am elderly, I am infirm, and I need to find somebody who's going to take me to their homestead in Montana. I can still tell great stories. Put me to work." I don't know. I'm just telling you that the time is here. It's accelerating very quickly. President Trump is doing some amazing things. And some of the things that he's doing, including this one, it does seem to be potentially very ugly if we don't prepare ourselves. So I'm not going to get into I was really hoping to get into this pardoning of Ross Ulbricht, but I'm going to save it for the morning because that is going to be a much longer discussion. And I know it's approaching 1 a.m. on the East Coast, so I don't want to keep you all here all night. I just want to say this, that no matter what anybody says, including me, don't fret. This really is, we are in a very blessed time. And I'm not just talking about blessings and, oh, look, prosperity and this. I'm talking about we are blessed to be witnessing all of the amazing things that are happening. We're watching miracles. I mean, absolute positive miracles happening right before us. It feels to me, and maybe I'm wrong, but it feels to me as if things are becoming more supernatural, and supernatural in both directions, to be clear. Are the fires in LA and now apparently in San Diego, closer to where I live, are these fires? Are they, portions of little mini judgments from God? Are they demonic in nature? What about all this crazy weather that's happening? I'm not going to say it's climate change, but it sure is awfully strange. A lot of this weather that we're seeing, very strange stuff. What about, of course, just the fact that President Trump is not only in office, but crazy things seem to be happening around him. Things that are, at least for America First Patriots, feel like they're positives. Are they all positives? Is there any hidden threats that we're not seeing? Are the globalist elite cabal engaged in something behind the scenes that we don't know about? Are they plotting, planning for a sudden attack of some sort, whether terrorist or otherwise? I mean, these times that we're in, folks, friends, they're extraordinarily interesting at the very least, which tells me and gets me excited. Tells me that we really truly might be living in the end times. And that in itself is a blessing. Now, be mindful. We're going to face challenges. If we are in the end times or not, and I think we are going to face challenges going forward. We weren't told, hey, guess what? Everything's going to be hunky-dory. That's not what the Bible says. The only hunky-dory part is when we go home. When we get called back. That's when things get hunky-dory. Otherwise, things are going to be crazy. And you could be pre-trib rapture, post-trib rapture, mid-trib rapture, no rapture. It doesn't matter what your perspectives are. We are very likely going to face very hard times. If we are in the end days, you could say, a lot of people say, well, no, we won't face wrath. We won't, which I agree with. The Bible does explicitly say that, but it doesn't say that we won't face trials or tribulations. Unless, of course, but again, I don't want to get into a biblical argument about this. Point being, to get it back into focus, the point is that, absorb it, embrace it, love it, appreciate it as a blessing to be alive right now. Because so many billions of people weren't. Millions? Billions. I mean, when did we go to the billions? When did it become, 1 or 2 billion? Was that in the 80s, 70s, 60s, maybe? I don't know. Maybe it was before then. But point is that a lot of people have come and gone, have died, without being able to experience what you and I are experiencing today. And that's not just about the technology. It's not just about the things, the vast wealth of knowledge, the incredible blessings that we're receiving otherwise. It's also just the sheer fact that we're here and participating in this time. It's amazing. I am extremely humbled by it. But we'll talk about it tomorrow. I can't wait to talk about it in this Ross Ulbricht story because it fascinates me. For those who don't know, he was the founder and CEO of Silk Road. He was arrested because he was sort of anti-government, a little libertarian, engaging in this crazy thing called Bitcoin and getting on the dark web, and people could buy drugs there. So they gave him like 2 life sentences. It was a sham. It was disgusting. President Trump pardoned him, as he should have. Not because he was innocent. Some people will say he's innocent, but I mean, 2 life sentences plus 40 years. Are you kidding me? And there are actual drug dealers that have participated, have helped to people to overdose and die, who get like 8 or 9 years. There's people that aren't involved in death, but who are caught dealing drugs and having people overdose. They're getting like 2 years in jail, and this guy's going to get 2 life terms plus 40. Give me a break. He served 11 years. It's more than enough. It should have been like probation for his crimes. But that's again, I'll talk about that tomorrow. So for the format of the show going forward, we are going to be doing the 9 a.m. Pacific show. That is when my Frank Speech show goes on. It goes on Frank Speech at 5 p.m. Pacific, but I actually recorded it early and I broadcast it semi-live. It's not live like this show is, but it is it's pretty close to real time. Like I'm done filming at like 8:40, and then it goes live like 20 minutes later. So it's close to live. But that show goes on at 9 a.m. Pacific, and this show we have just moved it to 7 p.m. Pacific. This is the live show, 2.5, 3 hours. This is the live show that also replays the morning show, by the way, in the middle. But we're moving it to 7 because it's just been too hard to get going at 6. My shift for the Liberty Daily starts every day at 5. So trying to get my work done there real quick and then hop on the show, it was just a bad decision. I should have been doing it 7 the entire time. So going forward, 7 p.m. Pacific is when this show goes live. So 9 a.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Pacific, both versions, Monday through Friday. And I will be happy to engage with you. You can always reach out to me by going to jdrucker.com/talk, jdrucker.com/talk, or just follow me on X. I have open DMs, so I don't even have to follow you back for you to be able to message me, x.com/jdrucker, and that will allow you to communicate directly with me. Please make sure to, what do they say? I always forget the verb. Smash the subscribe button, or is it smash the like button and hit the subscribe button and click on the bells or whatever? I don't know. Just follow me. Follow my work. That'd be great. Love you. All right. That's it. Lord willing, I will be back in the morning with another episode. But in the meantime, y'all stay strong. Stay safe.